Hi guys, Miss Marinotis here. I'm just going to do a quick video to show you about some of the things that would make your life easier or harder when it comes to the setup. When setting up my exhibition, I didn't really have too much of a plan. So the best thing that I think you guys can do is, before coming in on setup day, draw out a plan. I know that some of my classmates did that. It doesn't have to be exactly what you want. Remember, you have to be prepared to adapt, because sometimes the school's equipment won't hold up, or you won't have exactly what you need. So have an action plan, try and stick to it the best that you can, and help each other, because otherwise you'll probably you won't be able to get it done properly. So make sure to utilize each other's help and bring whatever you need from home in advance, and plan it out at least a week before so that you're not scrambling last second. Planning is really important. Nada planned out where she wanted all her birds to hang on the ceiling in the art room, so she knew what she was doing, and that really helped. She also planned out the chemistry, or like the measurements for the color in her water that she was going to mix. And all this is really good, but right near the end, she made a small mistake when she mounted these pieces the way that she did. Okay, you can see that even though her exhibition space looks great, all her work looks good, these are mounted somewhat sloppy.
I found the hardest thing was setting up on time, especially getting everything in on the first day. Even though I had a sketch of my idea, it's still, sometimes you have to expect things to go wrong, and you have to be able to change that, and also showing up on time is very important, so plan in advance. And plan for things to fall and not work the way you want, so make plan Bs for everything.
Was late on both days of the setup, actually all 3 days. She was late this morning as well. She was late, and this caused her issues with regards to her setup. Even though her setup does not look as complex, because she was late, she needed so much time to get it done, all right? It's really important to show up on time and be present and ready. If she had showed up on the first day on time, she would have finished on the first day.
Firstly, hanging up the canvases I printed them out in a Desco, and they came out as quite heavy. So I solved this problem by using sharp tacks, these acting as a hook for the canvas, and it leveraged all the weights in all directions. It's fine, all right. The second thing being is that hanging this cage and the canvas back up there, when you're tying it around the middle cage, make sure you don't move any of the other sections, otherwise it's going to the panel's not going to come down. Another thing you're going to have to prepare is come with your curatorial rationale and your exhibition text on the day of the exhibition, because we're not going to have much time. And don't be afraid to ask for help from your peers and teachers.
Biggest problem was hanging things from the ceiling. You can see the tiles above me are all kind of knocked out of whack. All right, he had a really hard time doing these. Okay, it's really important that you keep in mind what you're going to be hanging from the ceiling versus what's going to go on the walls and how you're going to do it. Okay, make sure that you know what you're doing and you have tried it and experimented in the art classroom before the exhibition, so you feel confident on doing it on the day of the exhibition.
I just finished setting up my exhibition for arts, and I realized how much of a pain it was, and I realized that I overestimated how much time it would actually take to set up. I thought it would be done in like an hour tops, and I was so confused when everyone else was like, oh yeah, it takes like 2 days, two days max. And that's all we had. We had the Ramadan timetable and everything, so it was even less. And it was the most stressful 2 days of my life, and I haven't gotten any sleep. So please plan ahead, make sure you come to school on time and actually set up, unlike me, because I decided to go in my own time, ahlan wa sahlan, did my own thing, did my hair.
Simplest setup of any of the students, and he was the quickest one to finish because of that. But you can see it's still effective. It shows off his artwork. He's got 2 sculptures on plinths. Okay, his work is hung up nice and neatly, but he was very sloppy when it came to setting up his exhibition texts. You can see it's got wonky edges. All right, that's really important to keep in mind. Okay, make sure that you cut properly, that you mount things properly. Every detail matters.
My advice for setting up your exhibition is that you plan ahead, because even when I made my layout sketch, I still have to be adaptable and change my setup according to the equipment that we have. And I recommend that you don't underestimate how long it's going to take, because I thought it was only going to take me one day, but it ended up taking 2, and I still had to take the morning to set up.
She had a really good solid plan of what she was going to do when she came in, but she realized that there were some problems based on the limitations of some of the equipment in the school. So she had to be adaptable and make changes as she was going. It's really important to keep that in mind. Now, Nikki's setup took more than 2 full days, so she was probably at about 12 hours of setup time. Obviously, she helped other people as she was going, but she probably took more than 12 hours to get all the wallpapering up, which took basically the first day, gluing all those lino block prints behind me, and getting everything taped up. She was made sure to bring in some of her own equipment to make sure it met the standards that she wanted as well.
You have to be adaptable. I know everyone said that, but a lot went off the hook and we weren't able to do what I wanted initially, which was like a tent curtain, because there was no roof. But I think the idea that came afterwards was also really good, or even better than my initial idea. So just because something isn't working out doesn't mean it's the end of the world. But you know, just try and get as many things. If you don't have a clear plan on what you want, just get as many things that you have that could relate, bring them down, and then if you're not going to use them, you won't. But it's just nice to have a bunch of things around you that relate to what you want to do, to help inspire you and give you ideas on what to do.
The first most important thing I think is that always be prepared for the unexpected, because nothing's going to go your way. Also, bring all the material you can from home. When you're wallpapering your walls, make it neat, because that really plays a big part in your exhibition. Also, overestimate the amount of time you're going to need, because it takes way longer than you think. Plan everything out, sketch it out, and make sure that it's scaled correctly, because when I was doing my planning sketch, I realized that these were too small and that my setup for the corner was too big. So I had to adjust that, and now I have more space here than I thought, and these aren't scaled properly either. So make sure that you have your dimensions and everything perfectly planned out.
Now, Hamna set up a whole functioning room and space with lots of lights. She dealt with lots of issues in regards to figuring things out, and we had to keep requesting supports to get things done. Some work was too heavy. Some things weren't heavy enough. For example, down here we've got bricks at the bottom and wood trying to weigh down her sculpture so the wire doesn't roll up. She had issues with the ceiling at times. 2 of her pieces were too heavy for traditional hangs in the school. So you can see over here, this one behind me, this one had to be drilled in by the resource team. Keep that in mind. Sometimes we can help you out with that. Talk with us about what you need. Plan this out. She had a sculpture here that was supposed to be put on a slanted easel, but it was actually too heavy and it began to crack, and then eventually the whole easel came down. All right, so we had to modify, and that's why it's laying flat instead. Also, be clever with what you do. For example, she has built a way for us to still access the light switches by building out her image and still using a space. So even though she's dealing with the walls of the school and all the things that are here, she's finding a way to deal with what's there. Same way Alex used curtaining on the edge of the whiteboard to make her area a lot cleaner, okay? You can see that curtain behind me. So please make sure you're thinking and you're planning ahead. So make sure that as you're working on your setup, as you're planning it out, as you're preparing, don't leave things to the last minute. Try things at home. Take the time. Don't rush. The exhibition is not something you throw together quickly in an hour. It is something that's going to take between 5 to 8 hours to do effectively. And for some of you, it might take even more depending on what it is that you're planning to create.